Well, hello, and thank you for coming to my Ford Freestar Mercury Monterey repair channel. And today I'm going to show you how to remove the Harmonic Balancer, aka Crankshaft Pulley, aka Harmonic Balancer, and a couple of other names for the Ford Freestar Mercury Monterey channel. Warning: I take no responsibility for any injuries or damages that may happen. This video is meant as a simple repair tutorial how-to. Please use proper equipment and take the extra time to be safe. Needed tools and equipment: wheel chocker block at least 1, jack stands 4. Each will need a height of at least 18 inches and should have a minimum weight rating of 2 tons, 4,000 pounds. Floor jack, minimum weight rating of 1.5 tons. 2 tons or more is preferable, and a minimum lift height of 18 to 20 inches. Yoke type pulley puller, at least 3 bolts and washers, each with a thread pitch of 8 mm by 1.5, and each a minimum of 3 inches long. A pulley installer, or 1 grade 10, 14 mm by 1.5 bolt, at least 8 to 9 inches long, 1 nut of the same threads, and 2 or more washers. Sockets: 18 mm impact short or deep, 15 mm impact short or deep, 17 mm impact short or deep, 18 mm wrench, and 1 small flat tip screwdriver. Step 1. Activate, pull the emergency brake. Step 2. Chock at least one of the rear wheels. Step 3. Place the jack so as the vehicle will be lifted from the center point of the frame behind the license plate. Do not place the jack under the radiator. Step 4. When the vehicle is at the desired height, at least 22 inches, place the jack stands as shown in the photos. Although the photos are of the passenger side, the driver's side will need the jack stand placed in the same position. This is of the passenger side, as is this one. This is just behind the subframe mount. Place the jack stands in this position on both passenger and driver's side. Step 5. Ensure that at least one rear wheel is properly chocked. Step 6. Ensure that the vehicle is properly and safely seated on the jack stands. Step 7. Remove the passenger side front tire. Step 8. Disconnect the ABS sensor wire and O2 sensor wire as shown in the photos below. A small flat tip screwdriver may be needed. Push tab with the screwdriver as shown in the photo if you need to. Step 9. Remove ABS sensor wire from the fender well as shown in the photo below. Use a screwdriver to gently pull this from the hole, then lay the wiring harness off to the side in a manner that does not obstruct or present a hazard. Make sure that this is not pinched or cut during your overall repair process. Step 10. Unplug bank 2 O2 sensor number 2, see photo below. Use a small flat tip screwdriver to push the tab in and unplug. Lay or store the wiring harness in a manner which will not get pinched or in the way of the overall repair. Step 11. Place the floor jack and stands as shown in the photos below. Make sure that the jack is only snug and not lifting the vehicle off the jack stands. I am, of course, referring to the jack stands that you placed just behind the frame underneath the vehicle in the previous steps. Step 11 continued. As shown below, ensure at least 4 inches of clearance between both jack stands and frame. Step 12. Ensure that the vehicle wheel chock has remained in place. Step 13. Ensure floor jack is pressurized and firm against the passenger side vehicle frame as shown in previous photos. Step 14. Disconnect passenger side sway bar link as shown in the photo below. You will need an 18 mm wrench and a 17 mm socket. Once the nut is removed, disconnect the assembly from the strut. Step 15. Remove crankshaft bolt. This will probably require the use of an impact wrench. You will need a 15mm impact socket. Step 16. Again, ensure jack is pressurized and vehicle has remained securely on jack stands. Remove subframe bolts as shown in photos below. Again, the jack stands I am referring to are the ones that are holding the vehicle in place, not the jack stands placed below the subframe. You're going to need an 18mm socket to remove the subframe bolts. Step 16 continued. Use an 18mm impact type socket to remove the front subframe bolt. Step 17. With passenger side subframe bolts removed and jack correctly placed under the subframe, slowly lower subframe onto jack stands. Make sure to go slowly as you are now supporting the weight of the engine, transmission, and subframe. Also make sure legs, arms, and feet are clear. Step 18. Install yoke-type pulley puller as shown below. Use the bolts described at the beginning of this procedure. Make sure bolts are secure and at least tightened with a wrench or a socket. Step 19. Tighten the shaft of the pulley remover, which will slowly move the pulley off the crankshaft. Do not try to block engine rotation by placing objects inside the compression chamber. Notes and specs. When reinstalling the dampener, do not use an impact wrench to install or slide the unit onto the crankshaft. This can damage or even destroy the threads inside the crankshaft. Use a pulley installer or even a longer bolt, nut, and flat washer. Again, do not simply try to impact the pulley onto the shaft. Only use an impact to tighten the bolt once the dampener is on and in place. The torque spec for the dampener is 188 foot-pounds. Torque spec for the subframe bolts, it says belts, my apologies, is 66 foot-pounds, and there is no torque sequence. Torque spec for the sway bar link is 66 foot-pounds as well. If you're not sure of torque specs, try to first loosen the bolt or nut with a torque wrench first. The vehicle shown is a 2004 model year. It does not have the oil cooler lines which were used in later models. Procedure is no different for the later models. Thanks for watching, and shoot me an email. Suggestions are always appreciated, and if there is a procedure that you guys need me to make, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. Thanks.